Story time about how my stepmother came to visit me a month after she was unalive, part 2. All right, so in my previous video, I spoke about how she came to visit me and what she said and what she asked me. And I said in that video that that was not the first time she came to visit me. So now I'm going to tell you the actual first time that she did come to see me after she was unalive. And I mentioned in the previous video, she was very sick for a long time, and then she lost the battle to that illness, right? So then this time, she didn't actually come to me in person. She came to me in a dream. And she basically just came and told me some information that was, I don't want to say critical, but it's just information to tell my father, right? So my father was always this laid back person. He will let things slide to the last minute, like kind of like a day sticker, basically, right? So she came to me, she said to me, this was regarding his life insurance policy that was supposed to pay out and pay for her like funeral expenses and stuff, and would pay him out a certain amount of money. Now I knew what that amount of money was because I always go with my father when he was taking care of all the expenses. I was always there with him and helping with everything, the funeral arrangements, going to get the money for the funeral, all that stuff, going to the insurance company, get the money. And we already knew, my father has already told me for years what his life insurance policy was. Now, she had life insurance policy with her job, but because she was sick for so long and wasn't able to work, she eventually lost her job, and the insurance didn't carry through because she no longer works there, right? So she no longer had health insurance. So his insurance, when he initially got it years prior, it covers both him and his wife, my stepmother, right? So it was a certain amount that either it was split down the middle, and half would go to whoever passes away first and covers that expense. The other half would be left behind to cover the second person, right? So she passed on first. So half the insurance policy, which was a set amount, would cover her expenses and pay out a certain amount to my dad, right? And we knew it was a set number. We knew what it was. My stepmother came to me. She said, "Tell your father to make sure he files the paperwork properly because the insurance is supposed to be this amount." She told me an amount. The amount she told me that the insurance was $25,000 more than what it's supposed to be. And I kept saying to her, no, that's not correct. That's not what the insurance is for. And she kept saying, I'm telling you, please tell your father to make sure he does the stuff right and file the paperwork correctly because it's supposed to be this amount, which is $25,000 more than what I knew and what my dad knew it was supposed to be. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And that was the dream. The next day I'm telling my dad, I said, listen, my stepmother came to me and she had this conversation. She wanted me to tell you that make sure you file paperwork properly for the life insurance because it's supposed to be this amount. And I kept telling, and I said to him, I kept telling her, that's not the right amount. That's too much. That's not what it's supposed to be. And he's like, okay. He just took the information. It was nothing for him to do with information. But sure enough, I kid you not, went to go file the paperwork, went with him to go file the paperwork for the insurance. I kid you not. The insurance base, because he had it for so many years, it incurred interest. So it was actually it wasn't even $25,000. It was like $24,700 more than what we knew that it was supposed to be. So she was right. So she told me $25,000, but it ended up being like $24,700. And I'm looking at my dad like, what? And he's looking at him like, yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot that it would have interest on there. But she knew, and she came to me days after she was gone in a dream. She didn't come to me in person. She told me it was a dream, and she told me, this is what it is. Please tell your father. Please, you know how he is. Tell your father he needs to do the right thing, fill it out properly, and get the right amount because that's what he's supposed to get. And I was shocked. But anyway, that's the first time she came to me. But if you want to know what she did to my aunts, my father's two sisters, I think this was like 2 days after she passed away. If you want to know what happened in that situation, follow. It's a little bit funny, but follow and I'll tell you that story. Come back.